Lots of people have asked, like, oh, why Starbucks? Like, why are you guys organizing? And I think, first and foremost, like throughout the pandemic especially, we've been called essential workers. And just having lived through the pandemic and being called that and understanding that the conditions and the living standards that we have, it's just simply unacceptable. And I think we're trying to change the working conditions not only for Starbucks workers, but, hopefully this leads to more people being able to say, enough is enough. I also want a better working environment and an actual say in my workplace.
They gave us, completely against our wishes, 2 additional support managers. What they're supporting other than the anti-union campaign remains to be seen.
There's as many people they brought in here, almost as many, I believe, as people voting in the union election. That's a type of disruption you're not supposed to do. I'm a regular at a couple of the stores here. They've taken the stores that I know people at, and they disrupted them by doubling the size of the people at times. That's dangerous. 2 of our committee just got COVID. They were put into a work situation purely as a way to disrupt about the union.
The timeline, lines up that within those 12 days from like October 1st to the 12th is probably when we would have gotten COVID, right before we went out. On isolation. And
the only thing that's really been different in my life is that I've been working with upwards of 10 to 15 or 10 extra people, 12, 13 extra people.
And that's just people on the floor. Like if we have 16 partners that are working on the floor, we also have like 4 to 5 managers that are hovering around in the lobby, in the back of house, talking to each other. The amount of people packed into that building tripled in that week. It's like it would be hard to kind of attribute this to anything else solely because that change was so drastic.
And not even to mention the people who are coming in from all over the country. This is not like local or anything. Like if there's outbreak from travel or anything like that, like anything could be possible.
And, we can only see it as both a tactic to disrupt a very strong pro-union store to, scare workers, to intimidate them, and to basically break their solidarity.
And we had to sit through 3 days of them basically telling us that not only are we essentially coffee robots that can just be put anywhere and assigned a position and we don't have to have any say in it, but that our managers who've worked very, very hard to take care of these stores and take care of us under these awful conditions don't actually have any say in what goes on.
We are worth living wages, and we are worth having safe working conditions.
But without baristas, there would be no Starbucks. Without people like us on the ground, we are what makes Starbucks what it is. And, Kevin Johnson just got a $20 million bonus over the pandemic. Well, we were the ones in the stores. Most of my coworkers got sick with COVID, if not all of them. So, just wanted to say too that Starbucks has the ability to raise living standards, and they've chosen not to.
It's usually the first 25, 30 minutes is them talking at us. And generally, at this point, it's all anti-union. It started off the first 2 meetings were kind of, we're here to help you, you raised your hand, we're so excited to be here and fix things. And then they've gotten they've broken us into smaller groups. They've scheduled these so that the most vocal of us are in one group and the quieter people are in other groups. So it's blatantly obvious to us, and I'm sure that they know that. I'm just not so sure that they care.
Unions come out of, struggles of working class people from, the 1800s and before. And we know what a union is. We know what the values of a union are. It's to support working class people. So Starbucks was piecing together every, bad piece of information they could find on unions to create this kind of like a collage of anti-union messages. They were pulling, practices from the trade unions, from different sectors, to try to intimidate workers. They'll do anything but actually talk about, what unions actually do.
They also put up the financials of the union to try to explain that, the higher echelon of the union, as you will, are making lots of money, and that's my dues paying into their salary. So I asked them if I could see Starbucks financials, and they said, well, that's public information. And I said, well, this is all public information as well, but you spent time to make a 25-minute PowerPoint about it. I said, can you explain to me why I shouldn't be concerned that our CEO got a $20 million bonus in the middle of a pandemic, and I have partners who can't afford to pay their rent and put groceries in their fridge on the same week? they kept saying, well, the union is a business. And I said, as opposed to Starbucks non-for-profit? I mean, like, who are we trying to fool here?
You know, you guys say you're not anti-union, yet this is the most anti-union thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, how can you say that? And they were like, well, we're just giving you the facts. Well, it's like, okay, well, how come you can give your facts, yet when we try to provide information, you tell me that that's my opinion?
The entire last listening session was a 25-minute PowerPoint that ripped apart the Workers' United Constitution. It was fear-mongering, and I called it out as fear-mongering. I also asked if they could juxtapose with that Constitution with Starbucks' Constitution, to which I was told they don't have a Constitution. So I asked what they had, and they said, well, we have policies and procedures. And I said, okay, well, who votes on those policies and procedures? And they said, well, nobody. I said, so there's no democratic system set up that allows me to have a say in my workplace. Well, no. I said, well, that's not helpful to me.
I brought pamphlets to my store that were sitting in the back room, just like where they put their information out. And mysteriously, a group of corporate people came into my store, and then when I went back there after they left, all my pamphlets were gone.
But their whole issue with the union was it was third party going to come between us and our ability to communicate with one another. And like you just said, you've got partners who their stores have been flooded with corporate to the point where they don't even know who they're supposed to talk to anymore in the case of an emergency. And you have COVID and you've got to make 10 phone calls to get a hold. I mean, that's not the partner-to-partner communication they've been professing. So they've kind of hurt themselves in a lot of ways. They've been doing a lot of talking, and it's been a lot of sort of do as I say, not as I do.
I know partners that have been here for 10 years that have never had these listening sessions, which are apparently really common, and we should have in theory already.
That's what we've been seeing in the stores. I've never heard of that as a labor lawyer. We're working with organizers with, many decades of experience. Nobody involved in this campaign has seen anything like this.
But I believe, the anti-union efforts are going to only intensify now, especially now that we have a month-long process of waiting for these mail-in ballots to come in and be counted. I think, what we saw, prior to getting this ruling is just going to be a prelude to an even more massive anti-union campaign ramping up. So I'm sure, there's going to be, if not weekly meetings, maybe almost like bi-weekly meetings, if not more.
I've always said companies like money more than they hate unions. I found the company now that hates unions more than they like money. If I was a shareholder and watched the level of their spending here of anything to spend, I would be concerned. It's just a model. You couldn't take this model across the country.
The amount they're spending on all these executives?
Yeah, the amount you're doubling and tripling the store managers. That's going to up, and also people are just being jammed in and closing down stores. Walden Anderson, where we had over 80% signed up, and since we petitioned for an election, even though it was withdrawn for a technical reason, would normally be refound, it was closed as a cafe. Go away customers, go away workers, and the workers are dispersed into the airport Starbucks where they double up, and that's why they get sick.